Did you know that nearly 40% of men over 50 struggle with poor sleep? And that this one habit alone can lower testosterone, reduce energy, and even steal away morning erections. We often think of intimacy problems as purely psychological or just aging, but biology tells a different story. What you do in the hours before you go to bed has the power to either restore your vitality or quietly drain it away. Think about it. How many nights end with late night scrolling, Netflix marathons, or a few drinks to wane down? These choices feel harmless in the moment, but inside your body, they're disrupting your circadian rhythm, the clock that controls your hormones, your recovery, and your sexual health. Poor sleep lowers testosterone, increases cortisol, and weakens blood flow. And if your body isn't getting deep, restorative sleep, your brain never triggers those early morning erections that are a natural sign of vascular health. Morning power isn't just about masculinity. It's a window into your heart, your blood vessels, and your long-term well-being. Now let's connect this to something deeper: confidence. When a man wakes up feeling strong, rested, and energized, he carries that confidence into every part of his day, at work, in his relationships, and in his intimate life. But when sleep is neglected and energy drops, frustration builds. You might find yourself avoiding intimacy, feeling anxious about performance, or losing touch with your partner. And here's the thing your partner notices: a lack of connection in the bedroom often creates distance in the relationship. Suddenly, what started as just poor sleep has spiraled into a cycle of low energy, low confidence, and emotional disconnection. But here's the good news. This cycle can be broken, and it doesn't start with a prescription. It starts with your nightly routine. Research shows that men who prioritize 7 to 8 hours of high-quality sleep see natural boosts in testosterone levels, sometimes by as much as 10-15% in just 1 week. That's the difference between dragging yourself out of bed and waking up with strength, vitality, and morning erections that signal your body is healthy. So ask yourself, what are you choosing every night? Blue light from your phone, or a dark, cool room that supports deep rest? Alcohol that disrupts your REM cycles, or hydration and mindful breathing that prepare your body for recovery? Stressful late night work emails, or journaling, stretching, or a short meditation that lowers cortisol and sets your mind at ease? These small choices add up, and your body responds, sometimes with decline, sometimes with renewal. And let's challenge a myth here: aging does not mean losing your sexual power. Yes, testosterone levels naturally decline over time, but lifestyle choices make a massive difference. Exercise, nutrition, and sleep are medicine. In fact, poor sleep alone can cause a sharper drop in testosterone than 10 years of aging. That means reclaiming your night could literally rewind your biological clock. Imagine gaining back a decade of vitality, not from a pill, but from the discipline of self-care. And this isn't just about erections. Healthy sleep protects your prostate, reduces your risk of diabetes and heart disease, and improves memory and focus. It also boosts your mood and reduces anxiety, which means you show up more present, more confident, and more connected in your relationships. Intimacy stops being a source of stress and becomes what it's meant to be: a space of trust, joy, and closeness. So tonight, when you reach for your phone or pour that extra drink, pause and ask yourself, is this habit giving me strength or silently stealing it away? Because every night, you're casting a vote for the man you will be tomorrow. The truth is simple but powerful. Your bedroom routine is not just the end of your day, it's the beginning of your health. And if you want your mornings to bring back power, confidence, and connection, it starts with what you choose to do before you close your eyes. Because science makes it clear: protect your sleep, and you protect your masculinity, your heart, and your most intimate relationships. Neglect it, and you surrender them all. The choice is yours, and it starts tonight. Here's a fact that most men don't want to hear, but absolutely need to. The strength of your erections can reveal the strength of your heart. That's right. When your morning erections start to fade or your performance in the bedroom feels weaker, it's not just about sex. It's often your body's first warning sign of cardiovascular disease. And here's the shocking part: those changes can show up years before a heart attack ever happens. Your penis, in many ways, is like the canary in the coal mine for your vascular health. Now let's break that down. Erections are a vascular event. They depend on healthy blood flow through the arteries. When you're young and your vessels are wide open, blood rushes in easily, creating strong erections. But as we age, and especially if we have risk factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, smoking, or obesity, those blood vessels stiffen and narrow. The arteries in the penis are some of the smallest in the body, so they're the first to show trouble. By the time chest pain shows up, damage has already advanced. That's why doctors call erectile dysfunction a sentinel marker of heart disease. But here's the psychological twist: men rarely talk about this. Instead of seeing erectile struggles as a medical clue, many men internalize it as shame, failure, or just part of getting older. That silence damages more than just health. It damages confidence, intimacy, and connection. A man who loses faith in his body often pulls back emotionally from his partner. He may avoid intimacy altogether, leaving both people in the relationship feeling distant and rejected. And all the while, the real issue, vascular health, goes untreated. So let's challenge the myth right now. Erectile dysfunction is not just a bedroom issue. It is a health issue, a relationship issue, and in many cases, a life-saving wake-up call. Ignoring it doesn't just risk your sex life. It risks your heart, your brain, and your future. And that's a truth we can't afford to sugarcoat. Here's the empowering side when men take erectile issues seriously and get checked early. They often catch cardiovascular disease at a stage where it's reversible. Lifestyle changes like quitting smoking, losing weight, exercising, and eating a heart-healthy diet improve blood flow everywhere, including the penis. And the benefits don't stop there. Exercise increases testosterone, lowers stress, and enhances confidence. A man who takes charge of his health feels stronger, looks stronger, and shows up stronger in his relationships. His partner doesn't just see improvement in bed, they see improvement in life. Think about the contrast. One path is silence, denial, and avoidance. It leads to weaker erections, rising health risks, and emotional distance. The other path is awareness, action, and transformation. It leads to stronger health, restored confidence, and deeper intimacy. Which path are you choosing right now? Let's not forget the emotional impact on partners. When intimacy declines, many partners silently wonder, is it me? Am I not attractive anymore? But the truth is often biological, not emotional. By addressing erectile health openly, you're not just protecting your body, you're protecting your partner from unnecessary doubt and hurt. Communication here is as powerful as any medication. And speaking of medication, yes, drugs like Viagra can help. But here's the critical truth: they treat the symptom, not the cause. If you take a pill without addressing your underlying vascular health, you're only masking a deeper problem. That's like turning up the radio to ignore the sound of your car engine failing. It may get you through the night, but it won't get you through the next decade. So I'll ask you, when was the last time you thought of your erections as a health report card? Because they are. Every morning you wake up with a strong erection is a sign your vascular system is healthy. Every time that fades, it's a signal to take action. Not to hide, not to be ashamed, but to step up. The truth is powerful. Your erections are not just about sex. They are about survival. They are your body's early warning system, and listening to them could save your life. Protect your vascular health, and you don't just bring back morning power. You protect your heart, your relationships, and your future, ignoring the signs. That's the real risk no man should take. Here's something most men never hear but need to: confidence isn't just in your mind. It's in your hormones. Low testosterone doesn't just weaken your muscles or lower your libido. It reshapes how you feel about yourself, how you connect with your partner, and even how you handle challenges in life. That means when you feel your energy dropping, when your motivation disappears, or when you struggle to feel confident in intimacy, it may not be all in your head. It may be in your biology. Testosterone is often called the male hormone, but in reality, it's a performance hormone for both body and brain. It drives muscle strength, fat metabolism, bone density, and yes, sexual desire. But it also fuels dopamine, the neurotransmitter of motivation and reward. When testosterone is steady, men tend to feel more confident, decisive, and ready to engage. When it's low, you don't just lose physical power. You lose that spark that makes you feel like yourself. And here's the scary part. Studies show testosterone levels in men today are lower than they were just 40 years ago, even after accounting for age. Lifestyle, stress, poor sleep, and obesity are stealing masculinity at a chemical level. Now, think about the ripple effect. A man with low testosterone often feels tired, unmotivated, and anxious about his performance. That anxiety quickly spreads into relationships. Maybe he avoids intimacy because he doesn't want to face disappointment. Maybe he feels less attractive, less manly, and pulls away emotionally. His partner might notice the distance and feel unwanted, which creates tension and misunderstanding. Suddenly, a hormonal imbalance is shaping the health of a relationship. Here's the truth we need to face. Confidence is not just a mindset. It's a chemical reality. You can't think your way into confidence if your biology is fighting against you. But the flip side is just as powerful. You can change your chemistry. When men start exercising regularly, eating whole foods, prioritizing sleep, and reducing stress, their testosterone levels rise naturally. Studies show even moderate weight loss can increase testosterone by 50-20%. That's not a small shift. That's the difference between dragging yourself through the day and feeling strong, motivated, and alive. Let's challenge a dangerous myth here. Many men believe they just need to push through. That confidence is about willpower alone. But biology doesn't respond to denial, it responds to action. You can't power through chronic stress, poor diet, or no sleep without consequences. You can't scroll at midnight, skip workouts, drink excessively, and expect your body to reward you with testosterone. Confidence isn't built in the gym mirror. It's built in your endocrine system. But here's the empowering part. When you take charge of your health, your brain chemistry rewards you almost immediately. Exercise not only boosts testosterone, it increases dopamine and serotonin, the very chemicals of motivation and mood. A single night of deep, restorative sleep can raise testosterone by up to 20% the next morning. That means every choice you make, every walk, every workout, every night you put your phone down early, creates a hormonal shift that rebuilds confidence from the inside out. And this transformation doesn't just affect you. It transforms your relationships. When you feel strong in your body, you bring that strength into intimacy. When you feel confident in yourself, you create safety and passion with your partner. And when your hormones support your psychology, you're not forcing confidence, you're living it. Your partner feels it, your children see it, and you carry it into every part of your life. So ask yourself, are your daily habits building your chemistry or breaking it down? Because every late night, every skipped workout, every fast food meal is a choice, not just against your health, but against your confidence. And every step toward better habits is a step toward reclaiming the energy, motivation, and intimacy you thought you'd lost. Here's the mic drop truth. Confidence is chemistry. If you want to feel powerful in your life and in your relationships, don't just chase motivation. Build the biology that creates it and protect your testosterone. And you don't just reclaim your masculinity. You reclaim your confidence, your connection, and your future. Here's a truth that almost no one tells men, but every man needs to hear. Great intimacy is not about performance. It's about connection. Yet, so many men over 60 measure their masculinity by whether they can last longer, stay harder, or perform like they did at 25. And when their body doesn't respond the same way, shame sets in. But here's the science. Research shows men who focus less on performance and more on emotional closeness actually report higher sexual satisfaction for themselves and for their partners. Intimacy is not a contest, it's a conversation. Let's talk biology for a moment. Erections, arousal, and orgasm aren't just mechanical, they're deeply connected to the brain. Stress, anxiety, and relationship conflict are some of the biggest causes of sexual dysfunction. Why? Because your body releases cortisol, a stress hormone, which directly competes with testosterone and reduces blood flow. That means the more you worry about performing, the harder it actually becomes to perform. It's a cruel cycle. Anxiety about failure triggers the very failure you're afraid of. But when intimacy shifts away from pressure and toward connection, touch, laughter, emotional presence, arousal comes more naturally, even if the body isn't behaving like it once did. And here's the psychological layer. Men are often taught that masculinity equals control. Control of their body, control of the moment, control of their partner's pleasure. But intimacy doesn't thrive under control. It thrives under vulnerability. When you let go of performance pressure and focus on closeness, trust, and communication, you don't lose masculinity, you redefine it. True strength is not pretending your body hasn't changed. It's adapting with confidence and creating intimacy that goes beyond biology. So let's confront a damaging myth that a man's value in intimacy comes only from penetration and endurance. That's not science, that's social conditioning. In reality, pleasure pathways are far more complex. Touch, kissing, emotional intimacy, and open communication activate the brain's reward system just as much as physical performance. Couples who explore these areas together often find their sex life becomes richer with age, not weaker. That's because they've shifted from proving to connecting, from performing to experiencing. Now imagine the contrast. On one path, a man hides his struggles, avoids intimacy, and feels more distant from his partner. Resentment builds, the relationship suffers. On the other path, he opens up, communicates, and embraces intimacy in new ways. His partner feels desired, seen, and valued, not just for the act, but for the connection. Which version of masculinity do you think builds a stronger legacy? Here's another truth that's hard but freeing. Your partner doesn't want a performance, they want presence. Studies show that couples who talk openly about their desires and challenges have better sexual satisfaction, even when physical limitations exist. Why? Because intimacy is about trust, not perfection. When you show up with honesty and connection, you create safety. And when your partner feels safe, they feel free to express themselves fully. That's when intimacy becomes deeper than any performance could achieve. Of course, this doesn't mean you ignore physical health, pelvic floor exercises, a heart-healthy lifestyle, and proper management of conditions like diabetes or hypertension all improve sexual function. But those efforts become even more powerful when paired with psychological and relational growth. Your health fuels your body, but your vulnerability fuels your intimacy. Both are required for true sexual well-being. So ask yourself, are you clinging to an outdated definition of masculinity that leaves you anxious, disconnected, and frustrated? Or are you willing to embrace a new definition, one built on connection, trust, and authentic intimacy? Because performance fades, but presence lasts. Here's a truth most men avoid but cannot escape. Aging doesn't steal your masculinity, neglect does. Too many men over 60 accept declining strength, fading erections, and shrinking confidence as just part of getting old. But science shows a different reality. Men who actively protect their health through exercise, nutrition, and self-care often maintain strong sexual function, sharp mental focus, and fulfilling relationships well into their 70s and 80s. Masculinity isn't about denying change. It's about meeting it with strength and intention. Let's look at the biology. Testosterone, the hormone that fuels muscle, bone health, energy, and libido, naturally declines with age. But here's the critical point: lifestyle accelerates or slows that decline. Men who carry excess belly fat, who don't exercise, who drink heavily, or who neglect sleep see steeper drops in testosterone and more health problems. On the other hand, resistance training, balanced nutrition, stress management, and quality sleep help preserve testosterone levels and blood flow. That means aging doesn't have to mean weakness. It can mean resilience if you choose to take ownership of your body. But masculinity is not just biology, it's also psychology. For generations, men were taught that strength meant ignoring pain, avoiding vulnerability, and pushing through exhaustion. But in reality, that mindset often destroys health and relationships. Ignoring urinary symptoms could mean missing early signs of prostate disease. Avoiding conversations about sexual changes leaves partners confused and distant. Pretending everything is fine creates isolation. True masculinity is not silent suffering, it's courageous responsibility. Now let's confront a damaging myth that masculinity is measured only by sexual performance. Erections are important, yes, but they're not the full measure of a man. In fact, men who tie their entire identity to performance often suffer the most when their body begins to change. What creates lasting intimacy isn't just a strong erection, it's trust, communication, and emotional presence. Partners want to feel desired, valued, and seen. Redefining masculinity means understanding that presence outlasts performance, and connection is the foundation of both health and love. Think about the contrast. On one path, a man resists change. He ignores symptoms, avoids the doctor, eats what he wants, drinks too much, and believes it's too late to turn things around. His health declines faster, his confidence erodes, and his relationships become strained. On the other path, a man embraces change. He adapts his workouts, fuels his body with healthier foods, talks openly with his partner, and seeks medical care when something feels off. That man doesn't lose masculinity, he redefines it. He becomes stronger, more connected, and more respected because he chose growth over denial. This is where science and psychology meet. Studies show that men who stay physically active not only live longer, but also report better sexual function and satisfaction. Men who practice mindfulness and stress reduction have lower cortisol, higher testosterone, and improved intimacy. Men who communicate openly about their sexual health have stronger relationships and less performance anxiety. These aren't just medical facts, they're life lessons. Health fuels confidence, and confidence fuels connection. So ask yourself honestly, are you clinging to an outdated version of masculinity that leaves you frustrated and alone? Or are you ready to embrace a healthier, wiser, more powerful version of yourself, one that protects your body, nurtures your relationships, and builds a legacy of strength? Because aging doesn't have to mean decline, it can mean transformation. Here's the mic drop truth. Masculinity isn't about proving you're the same man you were at 30. It's about becoming the stronger, wiser, and more connected man you're meant to be at 60 and beyond. When you redefine masculinity around longevity, health, and intimacy, you don't just extend your life, you elevate it.